So the point of this video series, wasn't it, was to look at an upgrade cycle while also looking at Copilot and kind of what Copilot brings to the table when we do these kind of things. And we're about to hit that point, aren't we? I've shown you the upgrades we made to Jesmond Dean Parkruns report pack. We've shown you the 2024 PowerPoint that we've built, so you can also download that. You can also see some of the sources and see the impact of DLP actually within a PowerPoint. But what next? Where else would we go? Because this needs to be an upgrade, doesn't it? Now the boring bit. Geordie Intelligence is a YouTube channel where you are now. YouTube channels rely entirely on likes and subscribes and comments to really understand what's going on and if it's hitting the right notes. So do me a favor, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment and tell me what you liked and of course what you don't like about what we've done. We've got a professional services arm as well, so if your organisation needs help, support, guidance, assistance in anything Power BI or Power Platform related, drop us a line, office@geordieconsulting.co.uk, and let our insight free your insights. So here we go, isn't it? We've got Jesmond Dean Parkruns data. Okay, you've seen this many times. What you might not have seen, or what you might have seen as we gave some of the little teasers, is that we've got other things going on. So what we've actually been doing behind the scenes is testing and preparing for an upgrade. So part of that has been testing with Townmore Parkrun. So we've rolled the Parkrun data, or the original data model, replaced the data with the Townmore data, and boom, we see what's happened. So they had kind of 260,000 successful runs that people have made. I mean, that's an amazing number. I mean, it's been 14 years, definitely, but that's, you know, when you look at the impact of that, it's huge. We've also done Denton Dean, which is the newest parkrun that we've got in Newcastle at the moment. Okay, they're relatively new. They're still in their first year, I think, pretty much. May just be about to tip over into their second year now, looking at it actually, probably just into their second year. But, you know, we can see still big impacts, growth across the piece, understanding really how that fits together is really key. So what I've done is we've built Newcastle Parkruns, where we've actually combined everything across Newcastle and put this together. So this is something that I had a plan for. This was always the vision that I had. I wanted this chart. Okay. The reality is I'm looking at the chart and I'm thinking, well, maybe that was a bad chart, Ross. Okay. But that's one of those things that you need to really start to understand, is that kind of no plan survives contact with the enemy is the term. Right? Like with data, no plan actually survives when you start to implement it. There's always going to need to be tweaks. Now, the reason I wanted this chart this way is because it's kind of looking at event one going along. Now, for the main or the newer three, that kind of works quite well. You know, definitely for Jesmond Dean and Lees' Park, it kind of started around similar times to sort of see, are there ebbs and flows similar? But they're similar, they're not the same, because there's realities to it, like whether the event was actually on that week or not on that week. So what we're probably going to need to do is do something based on a calendar as well. So that's be the next step that I need to do. And that's partly why we're not launching this today. But what you can see with this is I've actually brought this straight in and I've just replaced the model with the updated model in our PBIX file. And remember, because this is a public one, this is just, we do this. So there's nothing funky going on with this, but this model, this mechanism is really one of the ways that we talk about for continual improvement within your Power BI environment. So for us, continual improvement was around saying, right, we can take the model that we use today and we can simply delete it from the file that we've got today, and we can replace it, paste in query editor. So if we go in here, yeah, so in query editor, paste the new model in, which is all we've really done. Deleted it from the old and we've pasted it all into the new, which is just a simple copy and paste function that you can do within Power BI desktop. You can do it in any way you're going to do data modeling, really. Okay? He'll go through it, it'll synchronize up, and it'll work out, everything's fine. The result of all this, though, is that when we come through into here, we can see what works, what doesn't work. And that's then where you're starting to really fine tune it. So in my mind, I always think of this as kind of when you've got that carpet and you kind of worked out, this is the size of the carpet we're going to need for this room. We start to put it down and then it's like, right, we're actually going to need here, here, here. And what we don't want to do is have big chunks that are missing from it. That's always kind of the bit to avoid. So we've got the point here where it works really well. There were some tweaks that we needed to do to get kind of this thing to work still, this thing here, consistently looking at who's got the most numbers. Obviously, they're all from Town Moor, which is fine. It's kind of the longer running event. Is that necessarily the right thing? Is it right that we have that here? And I think in my mind, we've kind of got the view of we want the overarching one. And I want to have some views where we can swap between and see in terms of actually what's happened with what happened in the year or anything like that we might do. Let me just discard these changes. I didn't make any changes to it. I don't know what it's saying. In terms of the year that we've got, we can see we've got some issues still with the filter context that are being picked up, not the filter, the dump filters measure. I haven't rewritten that because we haven't pulled the model together fully yet. And of course, dump filters, you need your model to be right first. Okay, but things like it would be nice if we were able to put things like, oh, you know, what happened in 2020 together and actually have that make sense. And if you look at the moment, this kind of really shows it. We can see this calendar view isn't going to work. We need to do something different. And this is one of those where as you start to look and investigate what's going on, we see different things happening. See some interesting things around in terms of the numbers, the streaks, just the nature of it. So the most consecutive, we've got that's definitely something because it's within just that period. So within 2020, who's run the most? So again, that works, but it's, do we want these, you know, are the behaviours what the board has requested is kind of what I mean and how we put that back. So it works at the top level. It looks really good, I think, actually seeing it, but we do need to actually have that wrap around as the calendar. If we were to click on an event and go view the event, if we follow the control down, that roughly works. We've got a couple of things where the average participation doesn't look right or isn't right. Say that definitely it's not right. But overall, we've got the right values coming through. So it's working well, that works. Got some gaps still in terms of the joining of the club memberships across. So actually, are they, I think the adults and seniors potentially is working, but again, we need to do some more work on that to validate that. But definitely the club memberships in terms of are you your volunteer club and your run club membership, they are not working right now. So we'll fix those. What we've also done, so I've fixed the consecutives here, so both the consecutive runs and the consecutive volunteering. And the main thing we've had to do really, with no surprise, is to tinker and add in a piece around the URL for the events. Which event are we looking at? I did do some deep diving into this and I was looking at it going, well, hang on, why are we doing an intersect here? It just doesn't make any sense. We were kind of building a series and then doing an intersect based on what you'd done, so it would just return what you'd done. So I've removed that, which will make this more efficient again. So things like that, you will keep doing it, you will keep seeing it. That's really important. That's part of the progress for it. But what we've got is we've shown the model that you go through where you will start with, hey, we need to just do an upgrade on the plan. And then there's going to be, oh, it'd be really great if, oh, it'd be really great if. And suddenly, we've gone from a data set that's just about Jesmond Dean Parkrun, what does Jesmond Dean Parkrun do, to something that is potentially of use to, for example, Public Health Newcastle. Actually starting to look and see what is the health benefits of Parkrun. You know, how much is the impact of Parkrun? What percentage of the population of Newcastle are going to Parkrun? Is it changing? Is it going up? Is it going down? What's the impact of opening another Parkrun actually been, given that it's around here, I think? Oh, no, it was back here, wasn't it? So it was these peaks here that were really what triggered the points. So as we started to get these peaks, that it became clear, for example, that we needed additional parkruns in Newcastle. So the town more couldn't cope with 800 people coming through potentially any week. And we see here in September, October 2019, when the others have opened, so when initially Lees's and then Newcastle and then Jesmond Dean opened, we see there was a definite decline in the numbers that they had. It picked back up, which is not surprising, but it's kind of, and that's one of those interesting topics that potentially you wouldn't have thought of, that that parkrun or runners, the assumption is there's X amount of runners in the location. If you add additional parkruns, they should spread out. What actually you tend to see is that more runners appear, and then suddenly so your numbers will creep back up. But we can definitely see here that the numbers at Town Moor have not been as high as they were pre-Lees's and Jesmond Dean. There's definitely value add in us understanding when the high points are. So this 523, for example, for Jesmond Dean, we've talked about that a few times. Oh, Jesmond Dean, have we picked the right one? Yeah, 1930, no, that's not right. That feels wrong. 523 was it that late? Sure it wasn't. Let's go in there, hang on. Sure it wasn't 175. Yeah, different dates. So I have to look into what's going on there. So that was the 7th of September, which was, of course, the Great North Run weekend. So we got absolutely hammered at Jesmond Dean by lots of people coming. We weren't, not unexpected, we knew it was happening, but it's one of those things to be aware of, that when you go through and you do these validations, what's happening, and you've just seen the reality that those dates, for some reason it's not right when we really try and drill into it, and I'll need to figure out what's going on. I think that chart, we need to change it anyway. I think there's a better way of doing it, but we'll see. Here, okay, and it's interesting, well, you kind of hover there, we get 2023, is it the same? And it looks like it's picking the first date based on something else, which is, of course, based on how the tooltip is, where we should potentially have should that be event number, if there's event number. But anyway, there's so much that goes on with these, it is just unbelievable. But we've got there, that works really well, I think. But it was around seeing that initial period, so when Town Moor was first coming out, event number 1, yeah, that's definitely not right, is it? So event number 1, for all of them, kind of Town Moor had the lowest numbers for event number 1 compared to the groups, compared to all of them. As you're fitting that carpet into the corners of the room, you need to make sure you've done the work. But we'll keep it going. You know, it's passed the acid test for me, which is that all the events seem to have a higher starting threshold than Town Moor, but then Town Moor definitely has picked up and gone on. Although looking at it across the initial period, it looks like the numbers are all very similar in terms of between Lees's Park and Jesmond Dean. You know, these numbers here, they're not a million miles apart. You know, there is not a case where we'd turn around and be able to say, this is definitively a better or a worse event in terms of what's going on. It seems to be fairly consistently in the same ballpark. The events all have different profiles, and we know that in that if we come back out of here, if we pick, say, Denton Dean, we can see the average age grade here is 54. If we pick 54.3, Jesmond Dean is 52.2, Lees's Park is 54.9, and Town Moor is 57. Okay, so there's definitely something to do that, and I'm looking at that in terms of there's a speed to it, or the pace to get round. You know, we could easily look and see the average finish time as the way we want to go at it. So 29, 29, 28, and 27. The thing with those is that doesn't take into account the age of the field, which is why I would prefer to look at the average age grade, which is based on a flat, level plane, what's the world record for that age group, or what's the expected world record. They say it's a proper kind of world record. I don't believe you've done a world record for each and every age group, or each and every age of people. You might have done, but, you know, call me suspicious. So what do you reckon then? Okay. Continual improvement is something that you have to embrace in the world of Power BI. There's no way around it. Okay. You will constantly be working to improve your data model. You will constantly be working to improve measures that you've written. And you will also constantly have to deal with requests from the business. Can we add this? Can we add that? Add into that mix, you're going to have emergence. Okay? Things that you just wouldn't have thought of. Like the ability for us now to look and see what is the impact across the board of Parkrun. We've now got a data set that potentially nobody else has, and that could be of value far beyond just, I'd like to know what goes on, who's run. You know, the question comes back, and this is why we haven't built it now so far. I'm hoping that's why he's not built it or done the update. What should my page look like in that report? So how should I be able to find my page? Question number one. You know, we've got the way it's linked into the results for any particular event. You've got here's the people who they are. If I drill into my report, should that show just for that event? Should it be something looking at the events as a whole? Should it look at my progress? Should it look at my best for each event? Should there be a little table showing that? What? And I think those are questions that we don't know until we start to surface them. I mean, I know, you know, at the board level, we might get the request, we want to have a person report, but what that person report actually should look like, I don't know. We have tooltips that show what a person does. I think the tooltip needs to be retained, but there needs to be the ability to go and do a drill through probably to get that deeper dive into what that person's done. It would be nice, I think, as well to put the events on a map so you can see, oh, this is what Newcastle Parkrun does. Changing the data model as well is something that you need to be able to be understanding of, because that's something that you will do periodically. It's not something I recommend doing like this level of data model updates regularly. I mean, this is maybe the annual, we need to upgrade it. Part of that's going to be around, hey, we wrote it this way based on what we were told, and what we find is this area is really slow, and we've identified it's because of the way the relationship structure is. There's a more efficient way of doing it, given that the actual way we want to work is this way. So again, it's an emergent behavior. So potentially all the briefing, all the work we did said, well, this is how we follow the train, but it's different. Okay, so you find all sorts of things that come through, and you need to be willing and able to adapt and cope with it. And it's that adapt, cope, update, continually maintain, continually manage, continually grow is why you really need to make sure you have within your organization a center of excellence for your analytics environment, because you're not going to be able to just say, yeah, we can just do it, bring in the resources to do it, and then it's done. Okay? For our clients, we always say to them, you need to really work, implement that continual service, that continual improvement through a center of excellence. We will work with you, we will support your team to grow. And again, that's partly why we don't offer specific training courses and certification from us. There's a reason for that. Right? Microsoft Learn has some excellent course material on it. Frankly, it's from Microsoft, so it's updated, maintained, and managed as new areas come through. Strange enough, it's all on Microsoft Learn. Okay. When you get past Microsoft Learn, which realistically you'll be in 2 or 3 months for a lot of people starting to do development, worst case maybe 6 months, you'll be kind of like, right, I've got it. It's well worth dipping back in and keeping up to date. Definitely something I do. But then there are far better sources to go on and do that extended learning. We will support your team though in actually doing it, but we will sit down with you with an aim of getting them to support and to take these third-party tests. And I think it's just better and more transparent, open to say we're looking at this third-party company rather than saying, we'll train your team up to sit our tests and magically they all pass. Okay, I think it's a bit, I'm such a cynic. But anyway, let me know down below what you think. Come back next week when we'll actually be releasing this video, this report for you to actually click through and have a look and see what's going on and see the impact of Newcastle that Parkrun has had on Newcastle as a whole. That's what I want to say. Okay. For now though, stay safe, take care, ta-da.